Hey, 8th grade. Today I'm going to teach you guys a little lesson on unit conversions. So if you were on Teams today, and you should have been on Teams today, you guys will notice that part of your assignment today was to copy and paste these three things. So we have this first one called SI units. So you guys need to copy and paste that into your 8th grade notebook that we made the other day. Unit is metric system, and then obviously today we're talking about unit conversions, so you guys would paste it on the unit conversion page. Again, you should have set this up on, I believe, Monday. So if you guys haven't already done that, you might want to pause this video, go back and do that. I guess it was on Tuesday. Sorry, we didn't have school on Monday. Okay, so with that being said, you guys should have pasted this little section on SI units, this crazy little table here called metric conversion, and then I also wrote out some examples for you guys and took a picture of that. So those three things should be copied and pasted. Remember, you'll have to click the image to download it, and then you guys can just either right click or Control-C will copy, and then paste it into your notebook, so Control-V. With that being said, let's go ahead and talk about this first section here. So in science, we use the metric system, and we have 4 main units that we use. Okay, so in order to measure length, we're going to use meters. You guys will see meters is abbreviated with a small m. To measure volume, you guys are going to use liters, so capital L, or cubic centimeters, cm cubed. Or if you guys are ever in like the nursing or medical profession, you guys might hear cc's. It's about the same thing. So if you guys watch like Grey's Anatomy, you'll hear like, I need 3 cc's of medicine stat. Okay, so that's what they're kind of talking about there. You guys probably have no clue what I'm talking about. All right, and then mass, we use grams, so small g. And temperature, technically the SI unit is kelvins. It's not a degrees, it's just a big K, so we just call it kelvins. But more commonly, we're going to use degrees Celsius. Okay, so these are what we call our base units. So as I go through these notes, I'm going to write some little notes on there for you guys. It would be very helpful if you guys were to do the same. So I'm going to find us a fun color here. Next to this, I'm going to write base units. Any of you guys who have had me before in the past know that my handwriting sucks anyway. So writing with a mouse is going to be really conducive to that. So these 4 things are our base units. So meters, liters, grams, or degrees Celsius. We're not going to do a ton of unit conversions with degrees Celsius, but we might talk about them. So meters, liters, and grams are the main things that you guys need to focus on. Okay? Outside of our base unit, we have some prefixes to go over here. So anything larger than our base unit. So if let's take for instance length and talk about meters. Anything larger than a meter, we would add this in front. So it might be kilometer, hectometer, or a decameter. Okay, so a kilometer is probably the most popular out of these. 1,000 meters would be a kilometer. Okay, I mean, you guys are big track stars. You guys kind of have an idea of how kilometers work. Okay, and then you would put a K in front of the M. So you would abbreviate a kilometer, km. So little k, little m. Okay, smaller units, let's talk about those because we use a lot more of these. You guys are probably familiar with decimeters, centimeters, milliliters, and you might have even heard about micrometers or nanometers. If you guys had me last year, when we talked about the microbiome, we talked about organisms that were really, really, really small. And we talked about them being micrometers big or even nanometers big. Okay, use this crazy little funky U with micrometers and this little N for nanometers. So again, this is just assuming we're talking about length. So these are units that are smaller than a meter. So a decimeter is smaller than that. Okay, so we basically have 10 decimeters in 1 meter. So it's 1/10 of a meter. Okay, centimeters is 1/100th of a meter. So we have 100 centimeters in 1 meter. Millimeter is 1/1000th of a meter. So if we were to take a meter and divide that up 1,000 times, that would be a millimeter. Okay, and because we're talking about length, we would be adding this little m in front of our abbreviation for meter, which is m. So this would be millimeter, little m, centimeter, little c, little m. Decimeter, little d, little m. Okay, we could do the same thing if we're talking about liters as our base unit. Okay, then it would be kiloliters, little k, big L, because we use a big L for liters. Deciliters, little d, big L. Centimeters, little c, big L. So, and so on and so forth. We use a lot of milliliters in science. Okay, so little m, little big L. Okay, so anyway, these are the things you guys need to focus on as far as our base units go. We're going to refer to those here in a second. So this focus of this lesson is to talk about unit conversions. So what a unit conversion is basically we're taking one unit, say meters, and converting it to either a larger unit or a smaller unit. Okay, so what that might look like is I might say, all right, I went out today and I ran 4 kilometers. How many centimeters did I run? So that math associated with that question is what we call a unit conversion. Does that mean you guys are going to have to do a lot of complicated math? No, that's what's great about the metric system. It's way better than the system we use with feet because it's just moving decimals and adding and or subtracting zeros. So that brings us down to this next little table here. And I'll show you guys how to work this here in a second. But first, I'm going to tell you guys a ridiculous story. So go ahead and I'll have you guys follow along with me. The story of King Henry. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there lived a king who loved chocolate milk. His name was King Henry. Throughout his kingdom, King Henry made sure that all of the cows were fed great supplies of chocolate to continue to provide him with his beloved chocolate milk drink. Okay, anytime you guys add human teeth to an animal, it's kind of creepy. If you've ever seen a shark, that's a pretty good one too. King Henry drank chocolate milk with his breakfast. He drank chocolate milk with his lunch. He drank chocolate milk with his dinner. He even drank chocolate milk for his bedtime snack. King Henry drank chocolate milk by the liters. I sure do hope he's brushing his teeth before bed. King Henry wanted all living creatures in his kingdom to enjoy chocolate milk as much as he enjoyed chocolate milk. However, a liter was not the best serving size for every creature. The royal carpenter was called for, and the command was given for new serving vessels to be created to fit every creature in the kingdom. For the creatures smaller than the king, the royal carpenter designed centiliters that were 1/10 the size of a liter, centiliters that were 1/100th the size of a liter, and milliliters that were 1/1000th the size of a liter. The milliliters were just right for the royal beetles and bugs of the kingdom. For the creatures greater than the king, the royal carpenter designed decaliters that were 10 times the size of a liter, hectoliters that were 100 times the size of a liter, and kiloliters that were 1,000 times the size of a liter. The kiloliters were just right for the royal giants of the kingdom. All right, if this guy's face does not creep you guys out, I don't know what will. And then what is on his neck? Is that a neck brace? What is he eating? His hand? It's a little creepy. The royal carpenter lined the vessels up in his workroom from largest to smallest to show the king. The king's vessel was in the center of the line, for the king was the center of the kingdom. The vessels were arranged in the following order: kiloliter, hectoliter, decaliter, deciliter, centiliter, and milliliter. King Henry loved the new vessels that were designed larger and smaller than his own for all of the living creatures in his kingdom. The royal carpenter explained that the sizes increased and decreased from the king's liter, the original unit of measurement, by multiples of 10. He explained how to convert between the sizes by multiplying by 10 or dividing by 10. King Henry wondered how he would ever remember the order of the vessels. The royal carpenter said that he remembered them by thinking of a saying. He said, "I remember the order by saying, 'King Henry does usually drink chocolate milk,' and then I have no problem remembering the order." "That is exactly right," said King Henry. "Now I shall remember the sizes of the vessels." He took another big drink of chocolate milk and died. All right, so you guys can kind of remember this little acronym to help you remember this ordering, but you guys will have this little graph in front of you to help you out. So King Henry died unexpectedly drinking chocolate milk. So if you guys can remember that, you'll know that King stands for kilo, Henry, deca, unexpectedly, that's going to be your unit or measurement or what we call our base unit. And I'll talk about that here in a second. Drinking, dessa, chocolate, centa, and milk, milla. Okay? All right, so let's go back into your notebook. And you guys can see you have this little acronym right at the top. King Henry died unexpectedly or unusually drinking chocolate milk. I want you guys to take a highlighter and highlight this middle section here. Okay? This is going to be kind of your starting point and your most important point. Oh, wow, I'm really good at this. For your guys' little graph here, okay? This is what we're going to refer to as our base units. Okay, so you're always going to kind of start from here or try to get to here in some questions. So how this will work is in a question that I give you, you will put your finger on the unit I gave you. Okay, it might be a base unit or it might be one of these other units. And then you're going to look at what I'm asking you to find and you're going to put your other finger on the other side and then you count how many spaces are in between. And that'll be how many times you guys move your decimal and in what direction. So you guys can kind of read these arrows down here. If you're going to the left, you're going to divide by 10. Or in this case, you're going to move your decimal to the left. If you're going this way when you count, you'll move your decimal to the right or multiply by 10. So moving the decimal to the right. So let's look at an example here. We've got 8.6 kilometers, and it's asking you to find meters. So what you're going to do, and I'm just going to do some highlighting on here, you guys are going to start out, and kilometers was given to you, so we're kind of on the king part. Kilometers was given to you, and it's asking you to find meters. So meters is your base unit right here. Okay, so then you're going to count, all right, from here we go 1, 2, 3, just like you guys are playing a board game. You counted from your given to what they're asking you to find, so you went to the right 3 spots. So you guys would take and move your decimal to the right 3 spots. So what that would look like is if our decimal is here, we go 1, 2, 3. That means we add 2 zeros in. So your answer would be 8,600 meters or 8,600 meters. Okay, and go up here. I'm going to go ahead and remove some of my sweet drawings. Oops, I moved more than I expected to remove. All right, back to it. All right, next question. We've got 8.6 millimeters. How many meters is that? When you guys are doing these problems, it's pretty easy to think. Oh, did I run out of time? It's pretty easy to think about what's going to be, so if you guys only have 8.6 millimeters, that's going to be a really small number for meters. So if you guys were to look at it on a meter stick, that kind of helps you explain. All right, let's start. They gave you millimeters. We're going to meters. So if we look back up here, they gave you millimeters. And you're going to our base unit, which is meters. Okay, so we're going to move to the left. 1, 2, 3. So we're going to the left, and we're going to be moving our decimal to the left 3 spots. So decimals right here, we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Redraw your decimal, add in some zeros. Remember, a number can only have 1 decimal. That's a problem I see students making a lot is they'll add their decimal, but they forget to get rid of the other one. So we've got 0.0086 meters. So that's a really small number on our meter stick. Okay, next one, 7.8 kilometers to milliliters. So we're going a little bit bigger than we did last time. So kilometers to meters. Let me get rid of these here. So we're at kilometers. And they want us to go to millimeters. Is that correct? Milliliters. So kiloliters to milliliters. So kilos right here, millis right there. So we count. We started here and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Remember, you guys count just like you would if you were playing a board game like Sorry or something. Okay, so we're moving our decimal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the right. So here's our decimal right here. Let's move it. Whoops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to be adding in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. So 7, 8,